الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد يقول الله عز وجل والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. That by the declining day man is in loss except for those who believe, do good deeds, urge one another to the truth, and urge one another to steadfastness, to sabr. And this surah is one that most, if not all of us have memorized and all of us know. And there's a very important message in the surah, and that is the importance of time. And how many of us sitting here, myself included, can think of what I was doing maybe a year ago, maybe 5 years ago, maybe 10, for some of us that are a little bit older, 20, 30, or even 40 years. And when we look back at that time, and we look back at those moments, how many of us wish, well, I wish I had done this. I wish I had bought a home. Or I wish I had bought Bitcoin. Or I wish I had done this action. I wish I had started praying earlier. I wish I had a better relationship with my father. I wish I spent time with my friend in a more meaningful way. I had an opportunity to study this and I didn't take that opportunity to study. And we can think back in that moment, even if it's 30 years ago, and we remember it as if that was yesterday. And how that time, it becomes very relative. That we're not always thinking in that moment on what's going to happen. There's a really nice saying that I enjoyed from a TV show that some of you might be familiar with. He said, I wish somebody told me when I was in the good old days. And subhanAllah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He reminds us and He tells us, وَإِن تَعُدُّوا نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ لَا تُحْصُوهَا. That if you try to count a blessing of Allah, you wouldn't be able to count it. Singular. Right? You won't be able to count the blessing of an eye, or my health, or my free time, or what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed me in terms of my job or my family. But that regret is something I want us all to think about. That sadness that we might feel over the decisions that we have made are opportunities for us to reflect. Because it is very possible that Allah didn't bless me with wealth at that time because I would have misused it. It's possible that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala caused me to break my leg in that moment because maybe if I had the ability to walk, I would have gone and done something wrong, or I would have hurt another person. But there are characteristics we should always be seeking and always be asking for. There's never a time where we shouldn't ask to be courageous. There's never a time where we shouldn't ask to be honest, or to be upright, or to be caring, or to be patient. That is something that none of us would regret. I might regret a job choice. I might regret a financial decision. I might regret a trip that I took. But there's never a time that I regretted when I was courageous and I stood up for a friend or a loved one. There's never a time I regretted when I was honest with my spouse. There's never a time I regretted I was generous because, I helped someone, or because I made dua for someone. And we really need to think about that. But there are times I regret when I didn't do that. There are times I regret where I was unkind. There are times I regret when I talked down to somebody. There are times I regret where I was dishonest. And maybe we did tawbah. Maybe we took the opportunity and apologized to that person. But how many of us wish we never did it in the first place? And how our relationships get affected just because we said that word, even if we apologize for them. And when we think back, the other thing that shines is that subhanAllah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He showed me all of these red flags. He showed me that the path I'm taking and the decision I'm about to make is a wrong one. What caused me to ignore that decision? What caused me to overlook that? Why was I so blinded that I still made that foul decision? I still decided to curse that person. I still decided to be dishonest. I still decided to take advantage. And we all know the answer. It's our blackened hearts. Because we've allowed them to become weak. Instead of filling them with our belief in Allah, in our relationship with His book, our relationship with His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we started filling it with a relationship with ourselves. We started loving ourselves so much. We started caring for ourselves so much that that emotion that I was feeling, that anger, or maybe that sadness, or maybe that fear, it became more important than the person in front of me. وَهَذَا هُوَ عَيْنُ الْكِبْرِ. And that's exactly what pride is. When I make myself and I make that feeling more important than my spouse, than my child, than my friend, than my coworker, than my colleague, than a parent. And it's amazing how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He commands us time and again to be from those people who are sabirun, to be from those people who are muttaqun, to be from those people who are steadfast, be from those people who are patient, be from those people who are upright. And He Azza wa Jal, He tells us the path to attain that as well. He tells us that's the salat tanha anil fahsha'i wal munkar. He tells us that kutiba alaykum as-siyam kama kutiba ala alladhina min qablikum la'allakum tattaqun. That siyam is the path to taqwa. And that if I want to attain taqwa, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given me the simple vehicle. All I have to do is utilize it. So this shows us our own failures. That He Azza wa Jal has given us these deeds to purify this vessel. And He sallallahu alayhi wasallam talks about the importance of this vessel. He says that إِذَا صَلَحَ صَلَحَ جَسَدُ كُلُّ. That if this vessel, in this piece of flesh, in this piece of meat, if it is clean, it is pure, then that will reflect on my entire body. It will reflect on the things that I say. It will reflect on the things that I do. And He sallallahu alayhi wasallam, He tells us in a hadith Qudsi that I can become so beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I can become a wali of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In the signs of becoming His wali is the one that he uses this hand for Allah. He walks for Allah. He acts for Allah. He speaks for Allah. And it is in that moment. And the wali is not a faraway figure. The wali is not the one who is on the mountain and praying by himself. The wali can be right here. It could be any one of us. And I remember one of my mashayikh, he told me, I said, what is the ta'rif of a wali, Shaykh? Like, how do you define what a wali is? And he said something to me, to this day, it still shakes my heart. He says, al-mu'minu taqi. He said, the believer who has taqwa. And the reason it struck me, it was the first time in my life that I praised Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because I said, Ya layt, I said, maybe I can be a wali. Maybe I can be close to Allah. Maybe I can be one of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's friends. Because it was a maqam and a position I thought was unattainable. But when we look at the Quran and we look at the sunnah of His Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam, we see how easy it is to develop a relationship with our Lord. And the only thing stopping that relationship is this. أَفَلَا يَتَدَبَّرُونَ الْقُرْآنَ أَمْ عَلَى قُلُوبٍ أَقْفَالُهَا. Do they not ponder over the book of Allah? Or is it that there are halaks over their hearts? Meaning that the path to Allah is clear. The path to Allah is straight. The path to Allah is so clear that you can differentiate it just like you can the day from the night. And the only thing that's preventing me from taking that path are the locks that I place over this. So if I want to utilize my time, and how many of us remember so quickly, we just finished Ramadan and we're about to start Ramadan again. We all remember this. And subhanAllah, I can name some of the people that would sit here and who are not here this year. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to have mercy on them. Ameen. And maybe we will not be from the people who are here or from the people who are here the following year. But Ramadan is near. Allahumma ballighna Ramadan. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us to reach Ramadan. And it's so close. So close. The first Taraweeh will be next Friday. So close. So close. So how are we going to utilize our time? We ask Him Azza wa Jal to give us all tawfiq. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wa salam ala Sayyidil Anbiya wa Mursaleen Nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. Amma ba'd, yaqul Allah Azza wa Jal, Inna Allah la yughayyiru ma biqawmin hatta yughayyiru ma bi anfusihim. وإذا أراد الله بقوم سوء فلا مرد له وما لهم من دونه من وال. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He tells us in this verse, Allah does not change the condition of a people unless they change what is in themselves. But if He wills harm on a people, no one can ward it off. Apart from Him, they have no protector. In this verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala clearly defines for us and tells us the obstacle of getting to me, the obstacle of following my path, the obstacle of bettering ourselves is only our nafs. It is our own ill will. It is our own egos. Even the shaitan, he said, I'm going to come from their left, I'm going to come from their right, I'm going to come from behind them. But he has no ability to come above us and over us. He has no authority over us. So what is stopping me? And we know how we can be. One of the benefits of Ramadan, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He gives us a window into ourselves. That let me remove this veil for you, my slave. Let me show you how you look. When all of these distractions are taken away, we all know our potential. We all know our ability. We all know how much we can improve. And how many of us, man, in Ramadan I used to do X, Y, Z. In Ramadan, I used to make all of these prayers. In Ramadan, I used to read this much Quran. In Ramadan, I fasted all of Ramadan and I don't fast the rest of the year. Look at that potential that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is showing us, giving us a glimpse into this is the best version of you. This is what you can be. All we have to do is take a little bit of that. Allah doesn't command us to be outside of Ramadan like in Ramadan. The blessings of Ramadan are only in Ramadan. The distractions of Ramadan are only removed in Ramadan. The commands to fast are only for Ramadan. That uniqueness can never be any other time of the year. But I can learn. I can use it as a springboard. I could use it as a means to propel myself, to recharge me, to see how I spend my time. If I don't have to worry about lunch, what am I going to do? If I don't distract myself with worldly things, how would I spend my time? These are all glimpses and chances and opportunities Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he tells us to take advantage of 5 before 5. He tells us to take advantage of our youth. He tells us to take advantage of our health. He tells us to take advantage of our wealth. He tells us to take advantage of our time. So are we truly taking advantage of it? And I'm not proposing that somebody just sit in the corner and read Quran and pray. No. And the reason I can say that with confidence is because ما كان هكذا النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. The Prophet ﷺ, he wasn't like that. He used to spend time. He used to sit. He used to listen. He used to empathize. And when he sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he spoke, he said, the one who mixes with the people, وَصَبْرَ عَلَىٰ أَذَائِهِمْ, and the one who bears their discomfort, the one who deals with their difficulties, he's better than the one who removes himself from them. Because if there are characteristics that I want, if I want courage, if I want honesty, if I want loyalty, if I want trust, if I want those characteristics, they can only appear when I deal with other people. I can't show generosity in a room by myself. I can't show honesty if I'm out in the woods. I can't show trustworthiness if I don't borrow, if people don't give me things to borrow. How do I reflect these characteristics without being with the people? And the one who removes himself from the people, we need to ask ourselves, why do I keep removing myself? How come I don't want to mix? And how do I speak about others? Oh, you know people. Oh, the community is like this. Oh, like the... Wait, am I not a person? Am I not a people? Am I not from the community? What allows me to remove myself? And the shaitan, what has he done? He's entered from another door. And he's made me think better of myself. He's made me think that I look down on others. And probably one of the most dangerous things, he's made me think I'm right. Part of being a good Muslim is questioning and asking, checking our sincerity, going back and forth, taking criticism from others, engaging them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He speaks to His Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, says, وَشَاوِرْهُمْ فِي الْأَمْرِ. Seek advice from them, seek counsel from them. The one who's in communication with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah is telling him, go ask your companions, go talk to them. And what about those who are cut off from revelation? What about those who don't receive it? We're more required to do this. We have to take more effort in this. And who should we seek advice from? Probably the people who are going to be the most critical and who know us best. We should ask our wives. We should ask our children. We should ask our parents. Because that is a sign of humility from us. And we know that these people, they only love and care for us, and the things they tell us can only be for our betterment. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us tawfiq. We ask Him azza wa jal to have mercy on all of those who have passed. There's been a special request for our brother Haji Muhammad Zahir. He was in Afghanistan. He passed away yesterday. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy on him and give his family patience. We ask Him azza wa jal to give shifa, to give healing to all of those who are ill. We ask Him azza wa jal to help those who are in any type of debt out of that debt. We ask Him azza wa jal to help those who are in any type of financial hardship out of that hardship. And we ask Him azza wa jal to gather us in His paradise, to allow us that beatific vision so that we may see Him azza wa jal and to be pleased with Him and allow Him to be pleased with us. Wa aqim as-salah.